Hello everyone, we are live and I've got the awesome John from DisquietandDragons with me. Now this channel deserves a lot more attention. John is awesome for filming outdoors in the British countryside, and it's beautiful and it's calming, and just I love the way that he talks about books and talks about horror in particular. And yeah, you need to go and check his channel out. Yeah, it's a wonderful channel. And I love the fact that you have this calming demeanor. That's what I like to think about when I think about you.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah,
just
that's
welcome.
one thing I wanted with the channel, because I've seen so many booktube channels and they kind of focus on the negative side of reading, and I didn't want that. I wanted positivity. I'd rather talk about a book I love than a book I hate. And when I first started, I found it so nerve-wracking being at home in front of a camera. And one day I filmed outside and I just felt so much calmer and relaxed. And it's kind of become my thing now. It's like, I can't remember the last time I recorded inside. I might do when the winter comes.
And I've seen you film in graveyards. I've seen you film in not a monastery, but was it an abbot or something? A ruin?
It was an old abbey where the nuns lived about 600 years ago. Wow. So yeah, it's really old.
Yeah, and I love that about you. It's something completely unique to your channel, and I enjoy that about you.
Oh, thank you.
And what I'd like to know to start off is just your, and I say this every time I know, but it's great to hear from my guests your booktube journey. You know, how you started, what made you decide, when did you start reading horror, what got you into it, and we're not going to talk about this now, but there's something very interesting about this chat, because we're going to talk about the fact that you were haunted. You were haunted in your previous home, and you believe in ghosts. And I don't. We're not going to go there yet, okay? You're going to have to try and convince me.
That later.
Yeah, but tell us about your history and reading horror and your booktube history.
Yeah, sure. So I always, even from a kid, I was fascinated with ghosts and werewolves and that kind of thing. And like most people my age, we'd watch Scooby-Doo and that kind of thing, and the ghosts and everything, and it was great.
Where are you?
Yeah. And I've actually got a couple of, I started reading ghost type stories when I was about 7 or 8, and I got this one. I don't know if you've heard of it, The Shadow Cage.
No, never heard of it.
It's horror it's for children, but it's absolutely terrifying. It's a series of short stories. One, I reckon Stephen King needs to sue them, because it's about this little monkey puppet that goes on a murder spree.
The monkey with the symbol.
Yeah. And the main story is The Shadow Cage, and it's about this lad who's late home from playing one night, and he walks through this climbing frame, but the shadows in the moonlight become a real cage, and he becomes trapped in it. And as a 7-year-old, that was absolutely terrifying. And another one, and I got gifted this from primary school, and it was Famous Ghosts and Hauntings. So as a 7 or 8-year-old, I was reading about people getting the head lopped off and all that kind of thing. So I used to love drawing ghosts and werewolves as a kid. And then awesome. I read Stephen King when I was about 15. I think it was Needful Things was the first novel I read of his, and I was just hooked on him from there on. And pocket money or part-time job money, it'd just go on buying Stephen King books. But it was kind of potluck, because you know, when I was that age, we didn't have the internet for reviews and that kind of stuff. So you paid your money, you take your choice, sort of thing. So I remember
if you look at the color of my beard, I feel the same way. We didn't have internet. I was running around as a lighty as a kid, Yeah, with no cell phones, just riding my bike.
Yeah. It's like when you bought a book, you'd go to. It was like W.H. Smith was like one of the main bookshops here, and you'd go there and you go to the horror section, and you just read the back of the books until you found one that you like. No reviews. Some of them were terrible. Some of them you got really lucky. But I discovered Sean Hudson that way, Stephen King that way, Anne Rice, and my absolute favorite, James Herbert.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about him later. Should we say hello to a few? Let's say hello to a few folks.
Yeah, sure.
It's just because we've got quite a thing here. Okay, I know that Alicia won't be able to make a chat, but I wanted to stop in and say yo, yo, yo. So I'm going to go, yo, yo, yo.
Yo.
Yeah, there we go. She loves that. Okay, and then we got Nikhil. Hello, Nikhil.
Yeah. On his cruise.
He's on his cruise. It's Alaska, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone to Alaska. Yeah. Not envious at all. Not at all.
No, I'm not jealous at all. Can't wait to watch this. Okay. Then we got Matt. How you doing? I love it when I make it. Matt. Yeah, we love it too. How you doing, mate? And then, hello everyone. And my wife is just going to say hello. Hello, John and Cliff and everyone.
Hello, Anita.
Yeah. She's going to take it easy today.
Yeah.
Hope you guys are well. Cliff, hello, John.
Hello, Matt.
Yeah. Speaking of ghosts, I'm reading Head Full of Ghosts after I've done with Tenders of Flesh. Love to hear your thoughts on Tenders of Flesh, because that might be one of the books that I mentioned today. It's disturbing. Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Fantastic book.
It's messed up. Yeah. Especially this one part. I don't know if I'm giving spoilers, but where it's almost like they're cutting. Yeah, no, let's not go there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sampling the dish.
Yeah, it's grim, isn't it?
It's very grim. Okay. Yeah, so done with Tenders of Flesh. Is there? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the full title, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I think it just put Tender of Flesh.
Tender is the flesh. Yeah, Tender is the flesh. Yeah. Yeah. Needful Things was my first Stephen King book too. Yeah. How are you doing, Mark?
Hey, Mark.
If I'm getting that name wrong, I'm going to feel very, very bad. But I know it's Mark. I read Headful is very psychological, my favorite. I haven't read that yet.
Fantastic.
Have you read it?
Absolutely wonderful book, yeah.
Okay.
If you like possession type stories, things that are a bit ambiguous, make you think a little bit, awesome. Easy 4.5-star book for me. Not quite my favorite Paul Tremblay, but it's awesome.
Hello, gang. How's it, Michael?
Hey, Michael.
Michael, I'm reading your book possibly next month, possibly in November. Yeah. Got to give it a nice, honest review. No, he's great. He's got an awesome book out. It just sounds so awesome. It's called something Edifice Complex. And it's about a man who has an obsessive sexual relationship with a building. Something like that.
Okay. Sounds
Yeah.
intriguing. You don't read that on the back of a book every day.
That's why I want to read it. Hey,
yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah. I loved Head Full of Ghosts, 5 stars for me. Okay.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Chilling on a cruise, not jealous in the least. Definitely not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thing. Hey, dudes, looking good. Yeah. Thanks, man. Okay. Now, I want to know just a little bit about some of your favorite authors, first of all. I mean, I know you sent me some stuff, but just the authors that really stand out for you.
James Herbert is my absolute favorite. And I think when people talk about disturbing books, I don't think James Herbert gets in the conversation quite enough as he should, because when he's at his darkest, he can be really messed up. Like there's parts in The Fog, and if you've read it, the part with the schoolmaster and his students in the PE hall, I don't know if you've read it.
I can't remember the book.
Yeah.
I've read the rats.
Yeah.
And I've read The Spear. And I'm going to show you another book later on what I've read as well. I think I've read a handful of these, 5, 6, 7. I'm not sure. But we're going to talk about him later on as well. And it gets pretty messed up, eh? It does get pretty messed up.
Yeah, he does get messed up, but I just love the pacing of his books, and I'll tell you, I have something called aphantasia, and I don't have a mind's eye. It's like when I close my eyes, it's just black. I can't imagine. Like if you read a book, some people, they can like just imagine what it looks like. So I took to James Herbert because he writes about places I know, so I can imagine the books a bit better. And so like I know what London's like because I've been to London. I know what these villages where he writes books are like. So it was easier for me to imagine his stories. And I just really, really grew to love his writing. And all his books are really fast paced as well. There's just one of his novels that I haven't read. And it's for
Which one is that?
I haven't read Ash, which was the last book he wrote before he passed, because it's going to sound completely daft. I've read all of his others, and he passed, and I was absolutely devastated when he passed away. And I haven't read Ash because I always want to have a new James Herbert to look forward to. But I'm actually starting a reread of all his books, and I am going to read Ash now, so I can finish off the Ash trilogy, because it's the final one after Haunted, Ghost of Sleeth, and Ash. So yeah, absolutely love James Herbert. Another author I really love. She's quite new. Have you heard of C.J. Tudor?
I know you mentioned it when we were emailing each other. I haven't. I'd heard the name, but I've never read anything.
Another English author. Some of her books are full on horror, but she kind of goes to dark thriller as well. Really fast paced, writes wonderful characters. Just love her writing. It's the only time there's a book that she's got called The Other People, and I picked it up at 7 o'clock one evening, and I just read the entire thing in one. And it's the only time I've ever done that with a full novel. Like her first book was I can't think, the Chalk Man. Sorry,
Chalk.
The Chalk Man. Yeah, and it's like similar to it. It's like set in 2 time frames. One of a group of children, and then like what happened to them as children, how it affected the same characters later on in their life. Absolutely wonderful debut novel. Really creepy in places as well. But she just writes about it's good, bad things happening to good people seems to be a theme of her writing, which is kind of similar to another of our favorites, and yours as well, Stephen King. And
sometimes
stuff
just
happens. Yeah,
sometimes it just happens. I mean, my favorites, obviously, I've gone over it time and time again. But I thought what I'd do this time is I'd give some of my favorites, but I would show books that I've never showed before. So sort of different recommendations. I mean, I'm going to leave Stephen King out for now, because we might talk about him a little bit later. But it was one, Clive Barker. I mean, I constantly, when I talk about Clive Barker, I talk about Weevil and the Magica and the Great Secret Show. But I know that's not, you haven't really got on with that. and that's more dark.
No, it's Red Leaf World, but no, not quite for me, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but a good horror introduction, and I've also mentioned the Books of Blood. A good horror introduction is an obvious one. It's very short, and it is a Hellbound Heart. And there's Pinhead over there. And it's short, it's brutal, some great body horror if you enjoy that sort of thing.
I enjoy body horror.
Yeah. And then I also talk often about Robert McCammon as my favorite author, because I talk about Swan Song. I've mentioned Swan Song all the time, and Boy's Life. But another great book by him that people should check out is one called Mystery Walk. And yeah, it's about these two men with almost like kind of special powers. The one is like a minister's son, and yeah, they are going to cross paths, and it's a very, very complex book, but it's very well written. That's Robert McCammon. And I've got some other books here, but what we're going to do is we're going to talk about favorite authors, not just favorite authors, sorry, some book recommendations. And I want
sure.
you to bring out a few first, and then I will retaliate.
Okay. The first one I'll recommend, and we're coming up to the right season for it. We're not too far from Christmas now, and that is Krampus by an author called Bram. Absolutely brilliant. He's actually an artist as well, so he does all his own art for his books, and it's a very dark gothic type art. And Krampus, it's about this guy. He's really down on his luck. He lives in a caravan in America on a trailer park. And one night he's at home, he's a bit drunk, and he hears this massive bang. And it's actually Father Christmas or Santa's sack has fallen through the roof of his caravan. And Santa, it's strange, it really is. Santa's actually the bad guy in this book, and the main guy who's down on his luck, he ends up being recruited into this gang of they're like elves, and he's like hanging out with Krampus, and Santa is trying to like get his sack back by any means necessary, and then Krampus is like, no, this is my sack, I'm going to use it. And it sounds quite whimsical, but it's absolutely brutal in places. There's torture and stabbings, and it's a perfect festive read. If you want something to read at Christmas, can't go wrong with it. Fantastic. And that's Krampus by Bram.
Well, there you go. I've got another Christmas read now, December read. To look that up.
Yeah.
I have heard mixed reviews about another one of his books called The Child Thief, like a retelling of Peter Pan.
Yeah, I've got it, but I haven't read it yet. For every person that hates it, there's someone that loves it. So I'm just gonna have to read it myself, I think. Make my own mind up on that one.
Yeah. Okay, now I've got one for you. And this is an author that a lot of people not enough people know about, and it is Michael McDowell. The Amulet. There's another book by his that's much more popular, and now for the life of me I can't remember what it is, but this is great because it's about a cursed object. Sorry?
Southern Gothic?
He writes Southern Gothic.
Oh, okay.
So he's very good if you like Needful Things, where a town kind of falls apart and people turn on each other, that kind of thing. If you like that, you're going to freaking love this. So this is about the amulet. Yeah, it's about a cursed object. It's just this amulet thing, and this town just goes. Yeah, if you like things like Needful Things, I think you'll enjoy this.
Yeah,
but there's one that's much more popular than this. One that he's famous for, The Elementals. That's it, The Elementals.
Oh, okay.
That's a haunting story. That's a haunting story. So if you like hauntings, Elementals is a good one. Yeah, it's a different one. And your next one?
Right. My next one is actually a C.J. Tudor novel, and that's called The Burning Girls. It's about this Yeah, it's about this woman and her daughter. The woman's actually a priest, and she lived in a big city, and something in her life with one of her parishioners, something really bad happened, and she kind of fell from grace a little bit. So she's been moved to this church out in this rural village, and on the site of this church, some girls were actually burned alive in like the 1600s, and they were known as the Burning Girls. And within the first few nights of moving to this new house and church, they see the Burning Girls, and they start investigating what happened, why they might be coming back, and everything. And yeah, it's just a really good. It starts off as a haunting, and it goes into like folk horror territory, and then it just becomes kind of like, it's like a real mishmash. It's like hauntings and ghosts, folk horror, bit of a thriller type vibe to it as well. But she writes really good characters, because some authors, even the people you're meant to root for, are just horrid people sometimes, but the good people in her books are really likable, and you really want them to win through, if that makes any sense. But yeah, if you like hauntings or folk horror, The Burning Girls is fantastic. There's a great TV show of it as well.
Yeah, and I'm starting to love folk horror because I've discovered what is fast becoming one of my favorite authors. We spoke about this as well, David Sodergren. You've read Heart, but you really,
Sodergren.
Yeah, you really, really need to read Maggie's Grave.
And actually, I'm
actually going to be doing a live video in the next couple of weeks, a book review with someone else. Buddy Reed was with the Forgotten Island, which is freaking insane. It's his first book. It's bloody. It's funny. It's just insane. It's very different to The Heart, different kind of feel, as well as Maggie's Grave, but it is just brilliant. And I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Fantastic author.
I really need to discover more from him. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah. I find his prose is so beautiful. The way he makes the environment in his stories is almost like an entire character of itself. It's like you've got the main human characters, but the environment is also kind of like a character as well. Yeah, fantastic author.
Yeah. Okay, I've also got Midnight's Lair by Richard Lehman.
The
horny little pervy adolescent, Richard Lehman.
Yeah.
Look, I
love him.
But some of his books are just didn't make it for me. But this was a great one. So if you ever want to read a good Richard Lehman, read Midnight's Lair. And yes, a lot of people end up losing their clothes and perving after each other, and there's a lot of rumps and breasts, but I can promise you, it's still a very good read. Midnight. And a lot of monsters as well, and it's fun.
Yeah. It wouldn't be a Richard Lehman novel if there weren't boobs and butts. So you just got to put up with it, haven't you? Right. So I'll go on to my next one, and it's The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay.
Okay, that's another one I really want to read. I've got to read Paul Tremblay. I've heard so much good about it.
Fantastic. It's about this man and his husband, and they've got an adopted daughter, and they've gone away for a weekend at this cabin in the middle of the woods. And then all of a sudden, this huge guy walks up to their daughter who's outside playing and starts talking to her, and he's like, I need to talk to your parents. The little girl runs inside, and they like barricade themselves in, and then they see some other people come out of the woods, and they've got these like handmade spears and weapons and all sorts, and it becomes like a home invasion type story, but it becomes much more than, without spoiling it, it becomes much more than that. Beautifully written, extremely tense, and absolutely gut-wrenching at times. It's one of the few novels where something happens and I had to put it down for a day, and I'm like, I can't deal with this right now. But
that sounds really good.
It just hits every emotion that it aims for. It wants you to really feel, and it does. It succeeds in that. And by the end of the book, you're a bit of a wreck, to be honest, emotionally. And but yeah, 5-star read all day long. Absolutely wonderful book.
Oh, fantastic! So if you hear the barking in the background, that's our dog.
Yeah, you might hear mine as well. He's laid just by me at the moment. So yeah, he's asleep at the moment. You might hear him snoring.
Yeah, thank you for that recommendation, because I really need to read Paul Tremblay. There's so many new authors that people rave about. I just haven't got there yet. Now I've read so much older vintage stuff. But yeah, let's talk about James Herbert, because you got a book there.
Yes.
You really enjoyed it. I did not enjoy this book so much.
Yeah.
And Haunted? It was called Haunted, yeah.
Yeah. I adored it.
I want to know your reasons why you enjoyed it so much.
It scared me. It genuinely scared me. And as much horror as I read, not too many horrors genuinely scare me or terrify me. And that one did. I just thought, without trying to spoil it, what you think it isn't. And I just think that the way that our main character, who's like this skeptical ghost investigator, and his whole world just gets turned around, doesn't it? Yeah. And I just thought he was a great character. I thought he was well written. I thought the descriptions of I love a creepy mansion in a horror book anyway, and it goes to this creepy old mansion, and it's genuinely scary at times. There's one scene, and it really got me, and it's the part when he goes out to the fish pond in the garden, and then I won't say anything more than that. That got me. Yeah. That got me. It really did.
Yeah. I think haunted house trope is probably one of my least favorite, I'm afraid. And I did appreciate, give it about 3.5 stars for me. I did appreciate the fact that it's completely original. The haunting idea is something that you don't see very often, and I really enjoyed that. But I didn't find it scary. Maybe it's the skeptic in me, because we're going to talk about that just now. What I did find scary is his second book, because it's actually the first in the series, with the investigator, someone Ash or something. Can't remember his name.
I can't see his surname.
This is the second one, The Ghosts of Sleep. And I love this hardcover. But yeah, I prefer this, because this is more like a village. It's almost like a haunted village. You know how much I can describe. I mean, it says here, it's a picturesque village hidden away in a part of the Chiltern Hills, seldom visited by outsiders, with its medieval church and traditional green and pond, presents a perfect picture of English rural calm. Now, when I think about your videos where you film them, it's sort of a place like that, right?
Yeah, the Chiltern Hills, I've only been a couple of times. They are so picturesque and beautiful. And because I knew how beautiful they were, what happens in that book, you've got like these hauntings in this beautiful countryside. I just thought it worked so well.
Yeah.
But I think you get that quite a lot with James Herbert. He uses these horrific things that are happening, and he uses them against like the beauty of the countryside a lot to make them seem more horrific. And I just love the way he does that as a writer.
Yeah. You know what? Let's just check up on a few people again.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. That's how I felt about Pratchett's. Why I never finished the Discworld. I read Haunted, The Ghost of Fleet, and haven't read Ash either.
Oh, I'm not the only one then.
Yeah. The Ash trilogy, anything to do with the Evil Dead trilogy? No, that's what's that guy's name? I love I love that trilogy. And what's that hero's name? It's something Ash.
He is Ash, isn't he? With the chainsaw arm.
Yeah. Okay, then
movie.
Yeah. Can you remember the first mental image that really got burned in your mind when reading a book?
It's a bit difficult for me because, like I say, it's like I don't really get images when I'm reading. The first thing I remember from a book that really upset me was Needful Things, and there's a lady in it called, is it Nettie or Lottie or something? The lady who's had mental problems, mental health issues, and it's what happens to her dog, and that almost brought me to tears. And that is the first thing, and I'll remember that for the rest of my life, what happens to this poor dog. And yeah, it was brutal. But yeah, it wasn't nice.
No, not nice. And sometimes these dog deaths just seem so unnecessary. I don't know. Just do it for shock value. Yeah. But
because
I think
it's like
mental. Yeah.
People, all the people in the world can get offed in a horror book, and I don't bat an eyelid. Hurt a dog, and I'll be in tears.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think if I think about mental images that burned into my mind, I think about reading It. That was the first Stephen King book I read, and just some of those bullying scenes. And I hate bullying. I've got a thing about bullying. It's just something that really, and also the abuse. With
it's harrowing, isn't it?
I worry about you a lot, Barry. I worry about you a lot. There's so many things in that book that burn into your head. Terrifying, yeah. Okay, then we got. I just finished Mr. Be Gone by Clive. Need more love. It does, and I didn't give it enough the first time around. I need to reread it. But it is kind of comedic as well. But it's still very good. It's a very different kind of book by him. Okay. You're thinking of the Elementals? Yeah. Sorry, Michael. Yeah. I remembered it before seeing your comment. Yeah. Hello, Super Strange Shadow. Hi, will you still be reading Gaiman after the allegations? I'm asking since I haven't read Coraline yet and still want to. I'm fed up with the cancelling culture. Yeah, I probably will. I've seen a couple of videos on the topic already on BookTube. And for me, it's about separating the art from the artist, right? And I think it's more difficult to do that if they're still alive, with that mentioned. But I think the books are there to be read. And the whole thing is that it's allegations at the moment. We don't know the full story. It does look very damning. But he's written some beautiful books. I'm going to still read. But it is a difficult one because, as someone said, you look at someone like Lovecraft. I love his stuff, and I'll read him because he's been dead, right? So I probably will read him. I have that ability to separate things, art from the artist. But I might do it with a bit of a bad taste in my mouth if these allegations prove to be true. So I'm not sure. And he's written some absolutely gorgeous books.
Yeah,
John, what do you
I've
think?
only read. Yeah, I've only read Norse mythology, and I have got some of his other books on my shelf.
Yeah.
I've already bought them, so you know I will probably read them. And as you say, it's, I know it doesn't look good, but it is allegations at the moment. If they do be proven that he's done what he's been accused of, then I'm not entirely sure I'd go out and buy anything brand new of his. There's ways to read an author without, you could borrow them from the library or something. But yeah, it is. And as you say, it's easier to separate the art from the artist when it's somebody that's been passed for a long time. It's more difficult when they're still around, but at the same time, it's, as you said, it's allegations at the moment, even though it looks bad for him. But until it'll all come out in the wash, I would imagine, and we'll learn one way or the other what he's has or hasn't done. And I think until that happens, maybe leave making a decision until then.
Yeah.
But we're lucky that we live in a time where if you don't want to read one author, there's 10 other amazing authors just round the corner waiting to be read. So there's always something else to read.
Yeah. Okay. It is rife with riveting. It's rife with riveting mental images. The Dark Tower as well. Oh, I'm going to do a reread of The Dark Tower. Have to. Brilliant. Okay. I have no idea Neil had any negative annotations. I don't keep up with most news. What are they? Matt. I don't think we're going to talk much more about Neil on this video, but he's
they're bad.
They're bad. If you just type in Neil Gaiman allegations, you'll find out a lot. The women have come forward, and it's not pleasant.
Okay. It's not just one either, is it? It's several now.
Okay. I'll keep reading Gaiman. I agree about separating art from the artist. Authors are easier in that way, because it's way harder to separate art from the artist. The art is the artist's own performance.
Yeah. He's right with that one. Yeah, absolutely correct.
Put it this way, we don't hear much Gary Glitter music anymore, and I'm not sorry. Yeah. We're going to move on from this topic now.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, before we carry on talking about books, because there are a couple of other books we wanted to talk about, but we were talking about hauntings, the supernatural.
Yeah.
Scared you. And you said to me that, you have a very firm belief in the supernatural. And you said to me, you believe firmly that your last home was haunted, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was terrifying.
I want to hear your story. So
okay, right. I shall just wet my whistle before I get to it.
I'm going to hear it with an open mind, I promise. I'm going to have an open mind. Yeah. But I have to say I'm skeptical about that stuff, but you tell your story.
Understandably so. It was about 2010, and I moved into a railway cottage. It was on it was like a semi-rural location just on the outskirts of a small village in rural Staffordshire. And this railway cottage, it was a row of 10, and they were about 120 years old. So not the oldest houses ever, but quite old. Yeah. And I moved in, and everything seemed fine at first, but there was like an alleyway to the side of this house, and that's where all like the rubbish bins were. And if I ever went out at night, I felt really uneasy. You kind of felt that you were being watched. I just thought it was like, I watch way too many horror movies. It's dark. I'm just spooking myself out. Anyway, I had my dog, Dude, at the time. And one night, I'd been there about 3 months. And I went up to bed. And Dude, I don't know if Layla does the same thing. You go to bed and they kind of like tinker around downstairs. They have their supper and that. Anyway, I'm lying in bed. And I hear Dude coming up the stairs. And I hear him trot into the bedroom, and he jumps up onto the bed. So I've got my back to the door and everything. And I tap my hand behind me to go and give him a fuss good night. There's nothing there. So I turn the light on and I look. There's nothing there. I've heard him come up the stairs and jump on the bed. I felt his weight jump on the bed. So I get out of bed and I go down the stairs and I'm calling him. Nothing. And I go into the front room and he's in the middle of the front room, just cowering behind the sofa. And I'm like, that's weird, because I take notice of animals' emotions. They seem to sense stuff that we can't. So that was the first time when I thought something's not right here. The second instance was my friend had come round and we'd been playing some video games and we'd had takeaway and we were just sat talking, and all of a sudden down the front room was like parallel to the staircase on the other side of the wall. And we're talking, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 several footsteps just came down the stairs. And my friend looked at me and goes, what was that? And I'm like, I don't know. And I went and looked, and there was nothing. I turned on all the lights. I looked upstairs. I thought it might have been the heating, the pipes or something. The heating wasn't on. So I went back downstairs and sat and, talking to my friend. Oh, that was weird, wasn't it? And it happens again. And my friend had had enough. They're like, I'm going now. That's not good. So they left. That happened several times. The footsteps up and down the stairs. And then I'd been there about 2 years, and a lady moved in next door, and she used to foster children quite often, and she used to have to walk them in the morning to school in the village. Anyway, she knocked on my door after she got back from taking the children to school, and she said, I know this is a weird question. Have you noticed anybody breaking into my house this morning? I said, no, I haven't heard anything. Why? And she said, as I was leaving, I couldn't find my purse. So I just left without it. And she said, I looked all over, couldn't find it. She said, I've just unlocked the front door and gone into my front room, and her purse was in the middle of the lounge floor with all the coins taken out of it, piled into a little pile on the carpet. And then she said, she goes, please don't think I'm mad or anything, but does anything strange ever happen here? And I'm like, yeah, a few things. And she was telling me about how her daughter wouldn't actually go upstairs to use the bathroom unless somebody went up with her and stood on the landing while she was in the bathroom. So it wasn't just my house that strange things were happening. So there was lots of little things, like my keys would disappear, and I'd search that whole house for half an hour looking for them, and then I'd go down and they'd be in the middle of the table where I'd looked several times. The scariest bit, and I'm happy to say this could have been my imagination. I hope it was, because I was terrified. I'd gone to bed and I was kind of you know, like just before you falling asleep, you're kind of like dozing with your eyes closed. I heard a growl right behind my ear, and I was just awake in seconds. That one, I'm happy to admit, that could have been my imagination, but it didn't make it any less scary. Eventually, it got to the point where, I mean, here, if you're renting a property, if you've got a dog, it's really difficult to find somewhere. A lot of landlords won't let you have a dog, but I found somewhere that let me move with my dog, and I was glad to be shot of that cottage, because it was genuinely terrifying at times. And yeah, I'm firmly a believer.
Yeah, I look, you know, there's stories like this sort of, people tell stories all the time, and it's not like something I'm closed off to completely, because there's so many stories of people telling about experiences they've had. You know, I think my problem is that they just haven't come up with any way, and this has been for centuries. I mean, there's no way to prove anything.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't. I believe you. I believe you. It's just that there's no way that you can scientifically prove that something like this happens. It is it's all word of mouth, and it's not like I don't believe something happened to you. It's just that it's word of mouth, and I actually want to find out from what you know the other guys say here. You know, guys, tell us, what do you think about hauntings and true things like this? I'd love to hear your point of view. Yeah, I mean, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, it actually got quite to the point where people would come to this house and they'd be so unsettled by the atmosphere in this house that, like my sister's boyfriend, he came once and he wouldn't come back again. And he said to my sister, there's something not right with that house. There was some more friends. They came round for a board game night. And my one friend's fiance said, "Oh, I just need to go and use the bathroom," because the toilet, it was upstairs. And she'd been gone maybe like 5-10 minutes. And my friend's like, "What's going on with her?" And he went upstairs. She couldn't open the door. She was pulling and pulling the door, and it just wouldn't open. And then he goes upstairs, turns the handle, and goes, "What are you doing?" And she was quite upset. She was like, "I could not open the door. It wouldn't open." And I was calling and calling, but we couldn't hear her. I had another friend, and like my house was in front of a main road, and you had to park. There was like a little car park about 50, 70 feet away. And my one friend, 45-year-old man, would leave my house, and he was that scared of the dark and the alleyway by my house that I'd have to walk him to his car. So the fact that it was not just me that was experiencing these things made me wonder, because when something like that happens, you do think to yourself, even as a believer, I was thinking, is it just the house settling? Is it dodgy floorboards? Is it the old boiler making all these noises?
Yeah.
And when I like discounted all those, I was like, I really don't want to live in a haunted house. And yeah, I mean, at the time, if someone had said, "Oh, we can prove it's absolutely not that," I'd been like, "Yeah, I'm a believer, but yeah, prove me wrong. I'd rather be proven wrong than be terrified." So yeah, it was
at least you got out of there. Hey?
Yeah.
At least you got out of there. Yeah. Let's see what people are saying here. Okay. Got. I mean, I love Woody Allen's writing, allegations and all, but yes, separating art from artists. Hold the company on moving on. When did the love for reading consume you guys? Okay, yeah, we kind of I actually want to jump the comment here because he said something else. Matt said over here, and then we're going to go back again.
Yeah.
But he says, I don't really believe in anything supernatural in general, but I do know for a fact that imagination can be an extremely powerful force. Now, I know, yeah. And, I actually read up a bit on this. And one of my majors at university was psychology. So I majored in psychology and English. And, they talk a lot about the power of the mind. And it's like I'm saying that I believe you. But I'm saying that this is one sort of thing where people talk about if you're telling yourself and if you firmly believe already that something exists in your house, then your head and your mind and everything is going to, your mind's made up. No matter what
it's
happens.
like
what I like
you
about
believe that I thought I saw something, not necessarily you believe that it was a ghost.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. What is a ghost? A thing running around in a white sheet. Yeah, people have been ghost hunting for a long time. Yeah. But it's a difficult one because there are so many stories, as I've said. Let's go back to this now. So when did the love for reading consume you guys? Yeah, always.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was young.
Yeah.
Even Potter, the Magic Faraway Tree, I started loving reading then when I was like 7, 8.
Yeah, when I was a kid, it was dinosaur books and animal books. My nan and granddad would always buy me for my birthday and Christmas. I'd always receive books. There was Enid Blyton that I used to read. Did you used to have those like choose your own adventure books?
Yeah.
So I love those.
Fantasy ones. If you turn to this page, oh no, you're dead. You've been killed by an orc.
Yeah, the fighting fantasy ones. Love those. Yeah. So I did fall out of love with reading for a while. Probably in about my mid-20s till about my mid-30s, and video games are to blame. But then I got bored of video games and got back to reading, and I'm quite happy.
Yeah, quite happy that you read the game.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and the Evil Dead characters, Ash Williams. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Doesn't he have a saying, "Groovy, baby"? Yeah.
Yeah.
He does. He has a whole lot of them. Hello.
Oh, hey, Peter.
Peter, how you doing? I really don't believe in anything. Yeah, we got to that. Peter. Things like that happen in The Haunting of Hill House. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that book.
Not my absolute favorite book, but yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Peter. Michael. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, like, I'm skeptic, but you have to be open-minded about these things, in my opinion. It's so many stories out there all the time that you've got to kind of yeah. Now, I want to give you another recommendation for a book.
Yeah.
This is actually one of my favorite tropes. I love the kind of the end of the world, Swan Song, The Stand, those kind of tropes. This is actually a very good book, Graham Masterton, Famine. It's basically the food in America running out completely. People are starving. So it's apocalyptic. So it's almost suggesting it's going to be the end of the world, and it's the build-up to that. So it's actually quite a fun book. And Graham Masterton as an author, I don't know how much you read by him, but he's very good.
I've read about 4. He's underrated.
He is.
He is. He should be.
And he's British.
Yeah. I honestly think when people are talking about the greats like Stephen King, James Herbert, Clive Barker, he deserves to be mentioned in the same breath because his writing's fantastic from what I've read of him. Yeah, really underrated author.
Yeah. Okay, your turn.
Right. this one, it's going to be a newer author, and it's My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
Yeah, I'm a little bit shy to start Grady Hendrix. I've heard very mixed things, and I don't like his title so much, and I don't like what I'm hearing about him. Like I heard that Haunted House is not good. Maybe I need to try him. Maybe it's a good place to start, but I think it's a different kind of horror. I don't think it's my kind of horror from what I'm hearing.
I would say that, you know how Legends and Latte is like cozy fantasy?
Yeah.
If cozy horror is a thing, Grady Hendrix writes it. But he's not afraid to go to some dark places either. Even though there's like a bit of comedy and a bit whimsical at times, it gets bloody and it gets scary when it needs to. Okay. And he does approach some dark subjects, but it's definitely
horror light.
Yeah. If you had a friend that was like, I want to read my first ever horror novel, what do you recommend? Grady Hendrix would be perfect.
Pet Sematary. Dive in the deep end. Throw him in the deep
end. No one writes for free.
The girl next door. The girl next door. Just throw him in the deep end.
Yeah. Which is another one of my recommendations.
Yeah, we're gonna go there. Yeah.
The girl next door. Oh.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say that I enjoyed that book because it's so harrowing and horrific. It's entertaining more than enjoyable. But his writing is so... I thought it was a very respectful way to approach something that was based on real life. It didn't go like overly gratuitous. He kind of made it as disturbing as it needed to be for you to be heartbroken by it, because it's a heartbreaking story. Yeah. But if you're feeling brave and you got the stomach for it, The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum, it's one of the best books I've ever read.
I will read it. I'm a little bit shy. I'm a little bit shy about reading that book. I'm a little bit like hesitant. Because of the subject matter. It might be too much for me. But then again, I've read other books by him, but I'm sure it's nothing like that. One of my favorite books that I read, I don't know if it was last year or this year. I think it was this year, is Off Season by Jack Ketchum. It's totally different. It's cannibal.
Yes, on my wish list. I do want to get around to it one day.
It is. For me, it's absolutely brilliant. Not so much for the subject matter. People think it's basically cannibals and out-of-towners, and and their clash. But I think his writing is absolutely superb. I love his writing, and it's just
his pacing is immaculate, isn't it?
It's just so tense the way it keeps you like hooked from the word go. Well, actually, Off Season takes a little while to get going. There's actually
The Girl Next Door was the same.
Sorry?
Yeah, the Girl Next Door, it probably took a good third of the book before there were like signs, but it took about a third of the book before it really got going. But I can understand people that show trepidation about reading it, because it would be an easier read if it was purely fiction. The fact that it is based on a real crime does make it that bit more disturbing.
So I don't have any problem reading about John Gacy and Jeffrey Dahmer and stuff like that, really. But it's just what I know about that crime is so horrifying and so heartbreaking and terrible. That for me is worse than anything.
There is an afterword in it by Jack Ketchum. And he actually says that while he was researching the book, there were things that even he didn't want to put in the book because he was so disturbed by what happened. He thought, I just can't in good faith write that for entertainment. So Yeah, I mean, how disturbing the book is anyway. I dread to think what horrific things he had to leave out. But yeah, if you got the stomach for it, it's a fantastic book, Cliff.
No, I will get to it. And I have read a lot more extreme fiction now as well, a lot more extreme horror. But that's just the one book that I'm hesitant. But yeah, I should be okay. I'll do it one day. So let's say there's more people joining. In fact, we got behind in the comments. So I'm going to jump in here quickly. Hello from upstate New York. How's it, Dan?
Hello, Dan.
Hey, Dan. Welcome. Okay. I'll tell us my favorite ghost story so far. Look, a lot of people love it. Mine is an unpopular opinion, so don't bother with me. But a lot of people really love it. Yeah. There's Layla barking in the background. My love for reading came from the first book I read. They had very little pictures, scenes to be painted in my mind. Yeah. I think what we interpreted your question to mean is what's the most disturbing. The first real visual horror stuff that was in your head. And the first horror book I read was It. So there's a lot of mental imagery, a lot of stuff from that book. But if I really think about the first mental images, I go back to like when I was 5 or 6 and I read this beautiful children's series by Enid Blyton called The Magic Faraway Tree. And I still remember Balloon Man up in the branch. Yeah, there's just these images. So it's a long time ago. But yeah. Hello from Chicago. Hello, Peter. How's everything inside down? Just had a short story published. It's called I'm Horny and I've Been to Buffalo.
Oh, what a title.
I've met Oklahoma. South Africa. My love for reading started with Spider-Man comics. Good old Spidey.
I used to love my Spider-Man comics.
Sorry, guys. Got to go. I'll catch up later, but it was great hearing two of my favorite booktubers chewing the fat.
You take care of yourself, Mark.
Yeah. Mark, awesome, man. Thanks for being here.
Oh, he's a great guy, isn't he?
He's a great guy, yeah. Gonna have him soon. It is very nice today. You're lucky it's summer up there, or moving into autumn. Here,
the weather here is
winter moving into spring.
Yeah, here today it's cloudy, raining, and humid, and just grim.
It's horrible. Yeah, I go now. I'm in Buffalo. What's your favorite ice cream?
Blueberry ice cream.
Vanilla with chocolate nuts or with nuts. I don't know if you have over there cornettos. Remember cornettos?
Oh yeah.
So you got the vanilla, and you got the kind of cone, and then you got a sprinkling of nuts and chocolate and nuts.
I know the ones you mean.
Yeah.
There's an ice cream we get here as well. Oh, it's absolutely delicious. It's called Cornish cream, and it's like vanilla and clotted cream all mixed into ice cream. Oh, it's so good.
Very good. I think I saw the movie of The Girl Next Door. Movie I'm thinking of that's very hard to watch. I felt
it's meant to be a rough film.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a very rough film. Actually, I think my wife started watching it and then she had to stop. She couldn't watch it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it myself.
Yeah. And then Michael doesn't like ice cream. It's okay to be wrong, Michael. Okay. I want you to talk about a book that we both read and that I really love. You should know what that one is, because we talked about it.
Oh, my memory's gone.
John Lindquist.
Yes. Let the Right One In. Oh, what a wonderful book. Let the Right One In by John Lindquist, I think.
Yes.
Pronunciation is probably so wrong.
No,
yeah. Is it, I can never quite remember. Was it Gothenburg or Stockholm? It was set in.
I think it's Stockholm. Yeah, he's Swedish.
Yeah.
I think it's Stockholm. Yeah.
Yeah, set in Sweden.
You were saying it's so grim and yet it's beautiful at the same time.
Yeah,
it's like that's the position in that novel. Is just
it's a book of contradictions, because you've got these scenes of absolute brutality, like the juxtaposition between this tender friendship that's forming, and it's an absolutely beautiful book. It's beautifully written. The pacing is wonderful, but at the same time, it's grim and it's dark and it's grimy and dirty. And there's not many books where I feel like I need a bath after I've read it, but I really did, because it is a dirty, not dirty in a sexual way, but it's a dirty, grimy story.
Yeah.
It really is.
And even the other characters, everything, those alcoholics in the bar, and some of the other characters and the bullies and it's just the whole thing about the book is just that dirt and grime. And also the fact that it's set in the middle of winter in Stockholm.
Yeah.
And snowed in and it's freezing cold. And it gives you that sense of claustrophobia.
Yeah, and then, it'll describe like going for a walk and his socks are soaking and you just feel so bad for him.
Wow. But it's for all the characters. There's just something about the book. It's just, and then you have the two central characters that form this beautiful friendship. Yeah. Give away spoilers here. Give away spoilers, but it's such an interesting book. It's actually in my top 10 books of all time. That's how much I enjoy that book.
Yeah, I've only read it once, but it would be it'll be close to my top 10 as well. And as Mark said earlier about Gary Glitter, you've got that one character that has a bit of a Gary Glitter about him as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, don't go there.
Grief.
Yeah,
but it's just the worst type of people in that book.
Yeah,
but it makes because it explores the worst of humanity, because it really does.
Yeah, it does.
It just makes this tender, blossoming friendship seem that much more beautiful. And fantastic book. Yeah, definitely one that if you like horror, you need to read it.
You do need to read it, yeah. And I want to give you another recommendation from the same author. Although the first time I gave it only 3.5 stars, but this is one of those books that I read a long time ago and I still think about. And I'm a bit of a zombie nut. I know you're a werewolf nut, but I've got a thing for zombies. And this book is Handling the Undead by John Lindquist as well. Okay. Now this is entirely unique and original in terms of zombie fiction, because it's also set in Stockholm, and then one day there's like a heat wave or something, and the dead rise, but they're not aggressive or anything. They just rise.
Okay.
And they're shambling corpses, and all they're trying to do is find their way home to their loved ones.
Oh, that's terrifying.
That's how it starts, and then it becomes very, very, very interesting. There's this whole almost a psychic thing. I don't know if you've read Stephen King's Cell.
Yeah, really controversial opinion. I loved it.
Yeah, well, if you love that, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this. Yeah. A similar kind of thing, a similar kind of thing going on. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but yeah, I'd recommend this. Handling Undead. Look, it doesn't have anything for me on Let the Right One In, book and the movie. That's just perfection for me. But this is very, very good. I would recommend it. Okay. And then you've got an Australian horror to talk about.
I have. And it's amazing.
Wow, This sounds crazy.
Brilliant. The Roo by Alan Baxter. It's, if you like, it's a creature feature about a demonic kangaroo that finds its way to this small outback town and just kills everyone.
Can you just give me 1 second? I'm hoping my wife sees this, because this is what I do when she's not paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, carry on about this demonic kangaroo.
Yeah, this like 8 foot tall demonic kangaroo goes to this outback town and slowly starts killing all the residents of this little town. It's a short novella. It's about 150 pages. Really fast paced, very gory, very bloody, but in a cartoony kind of way, if that makes any sense. It's like a kangaroo will jump over a fence, run up to someone and like kick their head off, and their head will like fly through the air. It's amazing. Alan Baxter, he's a great author. The best, if you were going to like The Roo, if you like the film Tremors with Kevin Bacon, if you like that film, you would like The Roo. It's kind of like not a similar story, but like the setting is kind of like right out in the sticks and something bad happening. But yeah, another book of Alan Baxter's that I absolutely loved. It's called Sallow Bend, and even though he's an Australian author, it's set in America. If you like Stephen King's small town horror stories, you probably love this. It's about this small town, and people start getting killed in mysterious ways, and our main characters investigate this like legend of a haunting, and it's about like this vengeful spirit and how they like kind of try and put her to rest, but really captures small towns really well. Very creepy in places. And if you haven't read Alan Baxter, fantastic author. And I don't know if I don't know if it's still up, but he did have a free sampler on Kindle, and it was, I think, 2 novellas and or a novella and a couple of short stories for free. So if you got a Kindle, I can't think of what it was called, but yeah, if you just search for Alan Baxter, it'll come up on Kindle Store.
Yeah, no, Roo sounds very interesting. And
yeah,
I want to give you another animal attack book that you have to read.
I love my animal attacks.
You love your animal attacks. You need to read. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Sean Hudson, Slugs. Yes, you need to read that. You need to read Slugs. I want to give you the first couple of pages. Okay, this book is freaking hysterical. It is so creative. The kills are so freaking creative. First couple of pages, the guy stumbles into his home. He's dead drunk, and he passes out on the floor. Obviously not the bed, because you have to create the situation here. And coming up from the basement, and coming from the roof, and coming, slugs. And the guy can't move because he's passed out. It's just some of the stuff that happens in this book is so ridiculous, but so funny and so gory and so slimy. This is worth a read. I need to read more about Sean Hudson, because I've got a collection.
I've read about 7 or 8 of his books, and I really enjoy him. I would say, if someone said to me, describe Sean Hudson, I would actually say squishy. He's a very squishy writer, isn't he? Everything seems to dissolve or get
squishy and slimy, and slugs get into the mouth and stuff happens, and it's just, this book is disgusting, but it's so creative. Because if you think about it, you're going to have to create scenarios where how the kills take place. So you have to be creative because
Yeah.
what are you going to do with
I think he's great. I love Sean Hudson. He's just really good fun. I think he's a really fun horror author, and it's over the top and it's ridiculous, but it's imaginative and funny, and love him. And but I haven't read The Slugs though, but I need to get hold of that and read it. I think I'd enjoy that one.
Yeah. I think you'll have fun with that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. We got now. Okay, now we're moving to Stephen King. So this is a perfect question.
Yeah.
I have to say that I can't remember a lot about Christine. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't one of my favorite by him. The whole teenage thing. The kind of possessed car for me is not the most.
Yeah. I haven't read Christine. I've seen the film. Thought it was daft. I really struggled with the film. The film, it's by possibly my favorite director as well, John Carpenter, and it's the only film of his that I've seen that I didn't love. It was all right. And I've got to admit, having that kind of average viewing experience has put Christine to the. I've got it. It's on my shelf.
Yeah.
But I'm not in a rush to read it, and that's why I like to read the book before I see the film most times.
Yeah.
Because it can have a negative effect.
These books that I read in the 80s and 90s, because I read like between 60 and 70 of his books now. And a lot of the books I read from the 80s and 90s when I was a teenager, the memorable ones are things like Salem's Lot or The Stand or It. I don't remember a lot about Christine because for me it wasn't that memorable. I'm not really into possessed cars. I know that Stephen King had a lot of fun with it because he loves his rock music. I think there's a lot of music. I think there's a lot of music references to 50s or 60s. I'm not sure. Plymouth Fury, all that stuff. But it wasn't really. Yeah.
I mean, I will get to it because at the moment, I've set myself a little task. I want to read all the Stephen King that I haven't read, and I want to reread everything that I have read. So I've only read about 35 of his books. So I've got a lot of reading ahead of me. But I can't do a tier list if I haven't read everything. So that's how I see it.
Okay. Then what? I'm getting to a point in my reading journey where I want to read a series. Dark Tower. If you read The Dark Tower, I'll go with Dark Tower.
Yeah, I haven't read Dark Tower myself yet. I can't really think of a horror series. I can think of a science fiction with horror influences. The Hyperion series by Dan Simmons. I've read the first two in those. Absolutely fantastic. Science fiction, but there's you can definitely tell there's horror influence in there. There's some very bloody, gory deaths. Dan Simmons, he's another writer whose prose is so underrated. He writes beautifully. His descriptions are fantastic. And also, I think his character work is exceptional as well. But the Hyperion Cantos by Dan Simmons, that's a series that I'd recommend.
And now I've got a series in the back of my mind, once again with zombies. And I've only read the first book, and it's freaking brilliant. And I haven't picked up the second one. It's on my Kindle. And it's also a very, very original take on zombies. And I've talked about it on my channel, and I can't remember who it is now. And I can't remember the name of the book. But if I remember before the end, I'll let you know. Something Darkness Descent, something. Never mind. But I've read a lot of Dan Simmons, but only his horror novels. I haven't read Hyperion yet. I love The Terror was my read for 2023. It is just brilliant.
And recently
Carrying Comfort's also really good.
Yeah, I love Carrying Comfort. Yeah, I can't remember much of it because I read it when I was about 18, 20, something like that. But fantastic book. Absolutely loved it. That's the one with like the mind vampires, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and the opening scene is probably one of the nastiest scenes I've read in horror fiction. It takes place in a World War II concentration camp. And remember that game of chess? I'm not going to say anything more.
I can't quite remember it. My memory's terrible, I'm afraid.
It's freaking horrible. Yeah.
One day, I might reread it one day because that's the thing with having a terrible memory. It's like reading a new book sometimes. So.
The books in the Land of Narnia, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Peter's not wrong there.
Definitely childhood favorite series. Hey, Narnia. Read Cell recently. It's decent. It's really good for me. Sorry,
I enjoyed it. The film is horrendous, though. Do not watch the movie. It's horrible.
Yeah. A killer kangaroo, sign me up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing, Matt. It's really good.
I love Krampus. Bron was born in my hometown. He still lives in the south. Really?
Oh, cool. Yeah, I do enjoy Brom's writing. And his artwork is beautiful.
Yeah,
it's really dark gothic artwork. It's outstanding.
You going to give me a couple more Stephen King recommendations?
Oh yeah, we were, weren't we? I'll just get the first one that I read, and it's actually my favorite Stephen King novel, and that's Needful Things.
Yeah,
absolutely adore Needful Things. The way
very underrated.
It's just such an intricate story. The way that he'll like mention something in like 200 pages in, and then these events will snowball, and then that thing from earlier in the book comes to prominence in the end game of the book, and you're like, oh, that's why that happened. And the way he weaves this story in Needful Things, and the underlying themes as well, are really interesting. Like, what are you prepared to do for something that you really want? And it's a question that, I mean, we live in a consumer society, don't we? There's always something we seem to want. And that book really does ask you, there's a price to pay for these things,
Yeah.
And are you prepared to pay it? And it's a very, very underrated Stephen King novel. Absolutely love that one. Yeah.
And I know you mentioned Pet Sematary as well.
Pet Sematary. I read that a couple of years ago, and it's heartbreaking. I enjoyed the film when I saw it, but the book, it explores things that a film can't do. The inside of the father's mind, and it's like just the thoughts he has about which child it was and that kind of thing. And it's heartbreaking. Just the examination of grief that book goes into.
Study of grief and despair, and it's a very dark
despair. Despair just drips off the page with that novel, and it's a difficult read. It really is. And I also think, like we mentioned folk horror earlier, I think that is Stephen King's folk horror story. I really do, because the film didn't explore it, but the way it explores I'm sure it was like hinting at a Wendigo in those backwoods, and like the story of the Pet Sematary itself, that just screams folk horror, doesn't it?
It does.
And I thought it was the friendship of the old man. Is it Judd or Jed or something? The old man.
Yeah.
I thought the friendship between the father and Judd was beautifully written, and Stephen King, his characters, he just writes characters so well. I mean, he's so imaginative, but his world building, his characters are just outstanding. And it's one of the reasons he's one of my favorites, because there's always something. What I love about his books as well, I don't know if you feel this as well, Cliff, is you can read his books just as a story. You can read Pet Sematary as a guy who loses a child and brings them back. And you could read it just as that and enjoy it. Or you can really look into the layers and the grief and despair.
Yeah.
And all his books, I think, have got these layers to them. And it's just what makes him such a fantastic author. There's just there's always something to take from his books. Even these average books, there's always something to take from his stories. And he's brilliant.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, I agree with you. He's a master storyteller. And like you say, he's got this ability with characters and with setting and with place and with all these things. It just weaves everything together. Just a master storyteller. Absolutely.
Yeah. And something else I love about him, and you can't say this for all authors, his characters, his villains are as good as his heroes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's a morally grey character, an evil character, the good guy. They're all written with the same care as each other. There's no throwaway characters. Even I recently read Cujo, and there's this one character who gets like a couple of paragraphs, but they feel as fleshed out and as important as every other character in the book. And I don't know how he does it. I don't know how someone as prolific and fast at writing as him does it. I really don't. He's a genius. He really is.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just have a look here. Oh, I love zombies. Zombies are the same. Setting, the characters that set them all apart. Yeah. Right. I'm going to jump off of here. 10 Days of Flesh keeps looking at me. Another wonderful stream, wonderful company. Going outside on this wonderful day. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, Matt, you enjoy the rest of your day, my friend.
Always awesome to have you here, Matt. Enjoy your day. Okay. Any book recommendations about being chased on the road or lost in the woods? Oh, okay. I've got some.
Have you got one, Cliff?
Yeah, about being chased on the road. Mine, Robert McCammon, about this absolutely insane woman who kidnaps a child, and the mother refuses to give up and chases after this woman. It's kind of like a messed up book, road trip kind of thing. And then Lost in the Woods, I recently read Adam Neville. What's it called? The Ritual. Very, very good book. And it's kind of like a survival horror. It takes a kind of turn halfway, but it's a really, really good book. Worth reading. Have you got any?
Yeah. I can't think of the author's name off the top of my head, though. It's a book called Bishop. And it's about this, I think it's like this guy, and he loses, I think it's his sister gets lost in the woods during a snowstorm, and he goes to go and try and find her, and he enlists the help of a tracker, and this guy called Bishop, and no one in the town really likes him. They like keep their distance from him. They say he's unnatural. Anyway, they find the campsite. It's been torn to pieces by some kind of creature. So they're like looking for these missing people. Then they start getting hunted by this creature. But Bishop isn't all that you think he is. There's something a bit off about Bishop. So you find out what it is with him. Really cool. Not the scariest book I've ever read, but if you want something, if you want a creature feature in the woods, well worth picking up. I'm just sorry that I can't remember the name of the author. Another Lost in the Woods one is, I think it's called Hunted by Darcy Coates. It's about a group of friends. One of them goes, well, it's this sister, I think it is. She goes missing while hiking in the woods. A group of her friends get together and go to the woods to try and find her. And yeah, lots of people are going missing in these woods. And what is making these people go missing comes to this group of friends. Really good book. I enjoyed that one.
Good stuff. The movie itself wasn't good in my opinion. Looks better.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah. Much love to you and yours. Fare thee well, my friends. Cheers, man.
Take care, Matt.
Wendigo is mentioned in Pet Sematary. I love the book and the movies. Pet Sematary. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't enjoy the more recent reboot. I didn't enjoy that at all. But I think the film that came out, was it about the mid-90s? I really enjoyed that film.
Yeah. What do you guys think of The Dead Zone? Yeah, I can't remember the plot of that one either. I need to reread that because I know that's a popular one. I know that it's something about a guy with psychic powers because he wakes up from a coma. It can tell what people are going to do or something. I'm not sure, but I need to reread that one.
Yeah, I haven't read it. I remember seeing the movie, and it's got Christopher Walken in it, I think. And I remember not enjoying the film at the time, but it's one of those that if I revisited it now, I might enjoy it. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm the same. Let's talk about extreme horror quickly, because I know that we both read a book, No One Writes for Free by Judith Son.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I found it one of the most sick, disgusting, depraved things. But you know that I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads because I'm not the kind of person that it was sick and depraved and try to struggle at the end. You think, what the hell have I just read? But I'm not the kind of person that's going to put 1 stars on a book that has warnings at the beginning that this is a graphic book. It is disgusting. It's disturbing.
It even has a warning halfway through, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does. And it sets out to do what it's supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I gave it 3 stars.
Yeah. I read it after the last live. I was intrigued. I got it. I read it. I read it in one sitting. Thoroughly entertained by it. I'd give it 4 stars every day of the week. It's disgusting. It's depraved. It's horrid. It's nasty. It's visceral. And I was thoroughly entertained by it. And that probably says a lot about me more than the book.
Well, the fact that I was thoroughly entertained by Off Season, which is also very nasty, very crisp, says a lot about me as well.
Yeah,
no, but that book had some scenes where I was just like, I don't really want to go there because if people do watch this, I don't want to give spoilers. But it goes to places where I'm thinking, oh, come on, no.
Yeah, even though I enjoyed it, I was reading it, I was like, really? You're going there? It's grim. It's a grim book, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. And look, I mean, I know that we talked about other extreme stuff, but I think we've mentioned already Off Season and The Girl Next Door. I know there's one book I read that I really didn't like. It was Carney. I don't know. It's not by. I know that there's a book Carney by Ash someone, but it's not the booktuber. There's 2 different books. I haven't read the one by the booktuber, but there's one by Ash someone. And I was so intrigued because I love carnivals and I love clowns and I love killer clowns.
Yeah.
Psycho kind of. And the first bit of the book, you actually, get these people that sneak into the carnival, go around the back. Yeah. And I'm intrigued. I'm thinking, oh, something really messed up is going on here. This is great. But then they get taken away. And
that's as far as I've got at the moment because I'm actually halfway through reading it. So
okay, I'm not going to say anything more, but you might really enjoy it. But I just found it kind of a letdown after that.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm sorry if you're reading it. I didn't realize you were reading it.
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. The characters just seem really dumb.
Yeah,
it's okay. They do things that no one in their right mind would do, and they get caught for doing it, and they deserve everything that's coming their way for being so dumb. That's what I think about it.
Yeah. And no, but the whole thing is, the point is that okay, I'm going to let you read it first because I don't want to give anything away. All I want to say is that when I buy a book about extreme horror, if it's about carnivals, clowns, or circuses, or whatever, I want carnival, clowns, and circuses. I don't want
there doesn't
the book
seem to be many
change.
clowns in that so far.
I don't want the book to just change completely halfway through and then become something. I'm not going to tell you anything more because you need to read it.
Yeah. I mean, when I got to when they were in the actual carnival themselves, I was expecting, oh, they're in this tent. All those clowns are going to go on the rampage and just kill everyone. It's going to be awesome. And it kind of just like fizzles out a bit. And you're like, three guys just like kind of corner them. And it's like, ooh, waving a knife at you, really scary. And it's like,
but you haven't finished it yet. You haven't finished it yet.
No, so it might get better. I might enjoy it. Who knows?
I'd like to hear your thoughts on that because, I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah. One extreme horror I didn't enjoy. I'll just get my notes. I don't know if it's really considered an extreme horror. It's definitely a disturbing horror.
Yeah.
And that is American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. To this day, I don't know if it's a good book or a bad book because some parts of it are awesome. And then you read 10 pages about a Phil Collins music video. And then you get to hear about his stereo system. And you're like, what am I even reading? It's either so meta that it's ahead of its time and brilliant, or it's just awfully dull. I think it's awfully dull.
Yeah. I did a review on that on my channel. And I was very conflicted. I mean, I'm not a style person. I don't like clothing brands and all that stuff. And the way the book
put me in a metal t-shirt and I'm good.
The way the book goes on and on about that stuff, it didn't really appeal to me at all. I got kind of bored. So I wasn't a big fan. There were some moments that was pretty terrifying at the end there. And it had its moments, but I'm conflicted about that book.
Yeah.
Okay, so Peter says, do you like the book Psycho? I do. Very good book. Not sure.
I haven't read it. I've seen the film. It's okay. Not a huge fan. I can imagine. I mean, I've only seen it recently. I say recently, about 10 years ago. I can imagine if you'd have seen it close to its release, it would have been terrifying. But sometimes, if you don't see a film in its initial time frame, it loses some of its power. I went to a Halloween showing of The Evil Dead a few years ago with my sister. She'd never seen the film. I remember being terrified by The Evil Dead when I saw it in the late 80s. My sister was laughing at it. She was like, people were scared of this. And I'm like, yeah. But it's when you see these films, sometimes if you don't catch them in the right time frame, they don't have the same impact. And I can imagine Psycho being kind of that kind of way.
Yeah, no, exactly. Talking about films.
Yeah.
You got a top 5 for me?
And Can I have an honourable mention as well?
Yeah, I'm going to have one as well. If you can have one, I can have one.
Right. My honourable mention, I don't know if you've seen this one, is The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
No, I haven't seen that one. I think you're going to be the film guru here, but that's fine.
Yeah. Genuinely terrifying film. It stars Brian Cox as a mortician, and his son is like also a mortician, and they get called into the mortuary, the funeral home, late one night because this strange, mysterious body's been found, and they start doing an autopsy on this female body, and things don't make sense. There's things in her body that are happening that shouldn't be happening, and the film follows this autopsy, and things gradually get ramp up, and it becomes absolutely terrifying. Fantastic acting, great special effects, this creeping sense of dread and atmosphere. Awesome film, and I recommend it to anybody.
I'll have to write these down. My one is you're going to have all the obscure ones because I'm going to have.
I've got some biggies. Don't worry, I've got some big ones.
Yeah. Okay. I'm calling a special mention because a psychological serial killer. Is it a horror? Is it a thriller? I'm going to Silence of the Lambs because it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites. It's a horror. Okay. Well, then we call it a horror. I just love it. Just one of the best movies ever. I just put it as a honorable mention because it kind of fits also into kind of suspense, serial killer, thriller, horror.
Yeah.
But there's definite horror elements there. I love that movie there.
Oh, definitely.
And I'll start with my number 5, and you can do number 5. Yeah. My number 5. Don't laugh at me, please.
I won't.
I just thought this is just such a fun freaking movie, and it's The Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, it's wonderful. I love that film
because it takes that whole slasher, kids going camping, and takes that, and then it just turns things like go crazy.
Everything just spins on its head, doesn't it?
You don't expect what's going to happen, and that's why I love it so much. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know the scene that got me in that film? When the bridge is down and he tries to jump it on his motorbike.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
No, absolutely. Hey, that's better.
Yeah, it was getting a bit dark. Yeah. So, right, my number 5 is Ready or Not. Don't know if you've seen this one, Cliff.
No, haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's about a woman, and she's marrying her fiance, who's part of this huge multinational family that owns a board game business. They get married at the family mansion, and at the end of the evening, the patriarch of the family is like, "Oh, we have a tradition. When a new member of the family joins us, we play a game," and they pick a game by random. It's like dominoes or chess or guess who or hide and seek. And if hide and seek comes up, the whole family gets tooled up and hunts the new member of the family. So the film it's quite comedic in places, not to the point where it's a horror comedy, but there's definitely parts where something happens and it might be a bit gory and you're like nervous laughter. The lead actress is Samara Weaving. Phenomenal. She is awesome in it. The very best character, female, especially female characters in horror, are the ones that they're really likable, they're a bit vulnerable, but they're also a real badass as well. And when the going gets tough, they really dig in and really try and get through it. And she's just like that. Absolutely wonderful actress. Funny in the right places, gory in the right places. Absolutely brilliant film. Highly recommend it.
Okay, excellent. And that was your number 4, right?
Yeah.
Was that your number 5 or number 4?
That was my number 5.
That was your number 5. Give me your number 4, so you can go first. Yeah.
Yeah, my number 4 is going with a classic. John Carpenter's 1978 Halloween. Okay. The greatest slasher film ever made, by far. I love Friday the 13th. I love A Nightmare on Elm Street. I love some modern slashers. None of them get close to Halloween. The atmosphere, the way that he stalks Laurie through the film, and the fact that, and when you see him like in houses and he like steps forward, he comes out of shadow, and he's just so. The fact that he doesn't have feeling just makes him so terrifying. One of the most terrifying things I think he does in the film was one of the boyfriends goes down to get something out of the fridge, get a beer or something. And Michael Myers, he comes out of the cupboard and like stabs him up against the wall, and he's just hanging there. And Michael just looks at him and goes, and it's so creepy. I've got a shiver up my spine just thinking about it. Terrifying film, amazing. The music's iconic, but yeah, one of my favorites is Halloween.
Excellent. I love Nightmare on Elm Street, but I'm not a big fan of slashers, but Nightmare on Elm Street, right up there with me. My number 4, let the right one in. And you know, to be honest,
I've actually seen the film.
I actually like the Swedish original with subtitles more than the remake. And you talk about the book being grimy and dirty, and you get that feeling with the movie as well. And it's gory, bloody, and there's things that very good movie. So I've had to try and cut this down, but I just love that movie. It was impactful.
Yeah. Right. So do you want me to do my number 3?
Yeah, go for it.
Another classic, and we were talking about folk horror earlier. The Wicker Man.
I love The Wicker Man. Yeah.
It's just so creepy and bizarre, and
as long as you don't talk about the remake.
No,
as long as you don't
the bees.
The bees, the jar with the bees.
Yeah. I just thought I think it was in the 70s it was made. It was so like jaunty and happy, but so dark as well. It had a real nasty underbelly to the film, and that ending is just it goes some dark places, that film does.
Yeah, you've frozen. Yeah, you're back.
Oh, yeah, you're back as well.
Yeah, it does go to some very dark places, and that finale with that procession, and the finale is just wow.
It's unreal. It's brilliant.
Okay, my number 3.
Yep.
Time for some comedy horror.
Oh, come on.
Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, you've got red on you.
You got red on you. Yeah. Yeah. There's a girl in the garden.
Yeah. Oh, throwing those records.
Throw it. That's the first record I ever bought. Throw it.
Yeah. I really enjoy Shaun of the Dead, which is a surprise because I don't normally like zombie things. So, but it's genuinely funny.
Really?
Yeah. Cornettos. Who doesn't love a cornetto?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know that in that whole Cornetto trilogy, you realize that when they're having their adventure, whether it's the zombies or whatever, they are completely hungover in every single one of those movies.
Yeah.
So in Hot Fuzz, they go on a binge the night before all the stuff happens.
Yeah, because don't they go back and watch all those action movies as well?
Yeah.
And then they're like hungover the day after.
Yeah. A lot of fun. Okay, I'm going to give you my number 2 as well.
Yeah.
And you can call it a classic, you can call it whatever you want, but I love The Shining. I know it's not true to the book, but in its own sense, for me, it's a masterpiece. So yeah, I love that movie.
It's not in my top 5. It's probably in my top 20. It's a one that I prefer the book, but doesn't take any away from it being a wonderful, wonderful film. Some of the imagery in that film is so iconic. Like the blood coming out the elevator and everything. Oh, it's terrifying.
And the music just adds to it. The score, everything adds to the power of that movie.
I thought that film used silence really well, also, as well as music. It's like some of the scenes, like something had happened, and like the sound would really get lowered, and it was so impactful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Your number 2.
My number 2. Wasn't the first in its subgenre, but it's probably the most memorable and iconic, and that is the Blair Witch Project. Yeah.
Yeah, unpopular. Unpopular opinion to me, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I just love it. I remember going to see it at the cinema, and the found footage thing, I honestly didn't know if it was real or not. And it's like I came out of the cinema and I went straight to the ticket booth and bought tickets to see it the day after again. And after the second time of seeing it, I bought tickets to see it for a third day in a row as well. I've probably seen this movie 100 times. I love it. Even though it's found footage, I would also call it a folk horror. Just love it. Absolutely love it. I know it's some people don't like the shaky camera, and some people, the ending turned a lot of people off of it. But yeah, wonderful film. Absolutely adore that film.
Interesting that you love that film. Before we get to our number 1, we'd have to say hello. How's it, Romy? I was trying to play catch up, started live just now. Hello.
Hello.
And then over here as well, Swedish Let the Right One was amazing. Yes, it was. Blair Witch ending terrified me. Yeah, I've got an unpopular opinion. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's the Blair. I don't like the shaky camera. Number 1, right?
Yeah.
You with me? Yeah. Yeah, I don't like the shaky camera. I don't like found footage. It's just, for me, it's just,
I mean, I love found footage, but I can see why people are turned off by it as well. It is. I've seen films and they just make me feel sick before now. But I think when found footage is done well, it can be really scary. And I like that it gave a lot of new up and coming directors and writers a cheap way to get into the horror genre, because all they needed was a camera. So I've got a lot of love for found footage.
Yeah, the one found footage movie that I love, and there is only one, and it's that Spanish movie Rec. R-E-C.
That final scene. Oh my life.
Yeah. Let's not talk about it, but let's just say that is that whole movie, the movie moment, claustrophobia in that apartment, just the angles and the claustrophobia and that I loved it. Yeah. That's probably the only one. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Romy. You pronounced my name right. I did say Romy, hey? I hope so. Did I get that right? Tell me. Okay. What is your number 1? I want to know your number 1.
Oh, it's a controversial one. It's a controversial one. It's a film where some people hate it as much as some people love it. And that is hang on. The Witch.
The Witch. I haven't seen that.
It's wonderful, wonderful film, directed by Robert Eggers. It's I think it's set in about the 17th century, folk horror. It's about this family of Puritans who are so religious that they get thrown out by their church for being too religious. So they go out into the American frontier. They build a homestead by these woods, these dark, foreboding woods. And the daughter of the family is looking after the baby one day. He's out by the river, and 1 minute she's looking, and the next minute the baby's gone. And things slowly start to ramp up. They've got a goat, the creepiest goat in the entire world. The crops start failing. They don't know why. They can't find any food to hunt. Things start going missing out of the house. But you're also given other information during the film. And you're like, well, is what they think is happening really happening? It's a very open-ended film. But if you want a beautifully shot horror that's atmospheric and extremely well acted, it's a fantastic film. And it doesn't outstay its welcome either. It's only about 90 minutes long, but it packs an awful lot into its running time. Absolutely adore this film.
I think you've sold me on that.
It's brilliant, Cliff. It really is.
Yeah. I'm not very good in talking about movies, as you probably noticed. I'm much better at talking about books than movies.
I think I'm the other way round.
It's my number one. Drum roll. Dawn of the Dead.
Original?
Not Night of the Living Dead, the second one. The original. Yep. Dawn of the Dead. In the apartment with slow zombies, with dated special effects. But what's interesting about this movie is just that the social commentary on society
and
consumerism and all of that stuff. But in addition to that, it is freaking terrifying. You know, you get those 4 people trapped in that shopping complex, and some of the scenes are freaking terrifying, and they're horrible to each other as well. And I just love the original. I really want to like fast-moving zombies. Yeah, it's just that they get overwhelmed. I like it, this idea that it's this emptiness with zombies, and nothing's going to stop them. It doesn't matter how slow they are. They get you. And you know, even though it's dated, I just love everything about that movie. George Romero.
Yeah,
I love Night of the Living Dead as well. I love the original Night of the Living Dead. The one scene that gives me nightmares as well is when that girl in the basement is chomping on her parents. It's got a parent's leg or mom's leg and it's chomping on it. It's terrifying stuff. I find that. Yeah.
I mean, you say that it's dated, but it's the story about the social commentary is probably more relevant today than it was at the time of its release.
Absolutely. I agree with
you. Because we do live in a consumerist society, and
I'd say it's not so much messages, but it's not so much the messages that are dated. It's the special effects and the blood and the. But I find even watching that, as opposed to watching something like Shaun of the Dead, it makes it even more horrifying. You know, the blood and the guys in the glass, and then he starts eating, and it's like, oh, yeah, just terrifying. That scares me.
Yeah.
I'm a zombie guy.
So there's some good films in our list, I reckon. There's some classics in there for sure.
Yeah. No, there are. Let's see if we've got another comment here. Michael, best clothing shot in history of horror.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
No comment.
I agree with you, Michael.
Yeah. I think we've run out of comments here. And look, are you still there? It seems like you're freezing every now and then.
Yeah, don't know why. Yeah, I've noticed it's gone a bit stuttery.
Yeah.
But don't know why. My internet isn't the best though.
But that's okay because we've had a good 2 hours there. So it was a lekker.
Yeah.
Sorry, when I say lekker, you know that means for South African it means a very good chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And,
yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, and for guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. And yeah, you guys must check out his channel. Going to get you over that first mark, and then you're going to keep it going.
I'm getting close. I'm getting really close to it.
You're getting close.
Yeah. I'm on 91.
No, you must get there. You'll get there. You'll get there.
Yeah.
But yeah. Thanks, Michael.
Cheers, Michael.
Yeah. I think I'm going to do your book maybe for the week of Weird next month. I think your book is pretty weird, but it might work for that. The readathon, it's called the Week of Weird, where you read weird stuff, like weird horror and weird.
Oh, okay.
I'll do your book next month, yeah. But let's see if I get to it. I had tough months. I've had a couple of tough, horrible months, so we'll see how we go. Okay. Thank you, Romy. Thank you, Romy. Okay, guys, I'm going to see you later. You're going to stay with me, though. You're just going to say hello quickly.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah. So, guys, we are going in 5, 4, 3, 2. I forget you have to press it twice.